The first trailer for the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare was one of my favorites so far this year. I don't always see them promptly, but any Guy Ritchie movie is worth the gander. I immediately was taken by how charismatic Henry Cavill came across. He seemed to be playing a violent madman that was leading a squad of misfits on some Nazi killing missions, and that's always a good time. Then I laid my eyes on Gonzalez, who's been my number one for many years now, and I'll see anything she does. Let's start with Guy Ritchie, an inconsistent but important voice in Hollywood. My favorite movie of his is probably Downey's first Sherlock Holmes. I never got into his British gangster films much. The Gentleman was fine, and I probably saw Snatch almost 20 years ago when all of my other friends were obsessing over the DVDs. There's Lock, Stock, Rock and Rolla. These movies are fine. I don't remember much about them, and I never revisit them. I'll see anything he makes though, but they don't make these grand impressions on me. The movie that came to mind the most after watching the trailer was The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I enjoyed it in theaters, and it was the first time I had been truly impressed and taken by Henry Cavill. He's the best part of that movie, and it's of course what started all of the Bond fan castings online. I figured that if Ritchie and Cavill were teaming up for another period espionage flick, you couldn't go wrong. I don't think Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare captures that same magic this time around. It starts off incredibly strong. The opening sequence was genuinely hilarious and fun. It reminds you of Inglourious Bastards for all of the obvious reasons. Henry Cavill's introduction, told in a flashback that follows, was also very funny and had my crowd chuckling a lot. I thought we were off to a tremendous start. Turns out that the first two scenes are the most charming, and it struggles to keep that engagement, and I could tell based on how quiet my audience had gotten. I can't imagine anyone watches this movie caring about the characters in any way. The film doesn't discuss its characters beyond like a video game blurb describing that this character is great with explosives and this character is great with the bow and arrow. I think the only thing that will keep people interested is if they're just purely curious as to how this story unfolds, because it was based on real events. But the pacing is very lopsided as well. The action sequences throughout are pretty fun, but other scenes bring this to a halt. Sometimes you just don't care and want to get on to the next scene. I think what waned my interest the most is that this doesn't uphold any sort of stakes or a sense of urgency. I saw Henry Cavill on the Rich Eisen show recently, and they go into how Cavill's character is believed to have been the main inspiration for James Bond. Their conversation is quite compelling, and I was hoping for the best Cavill performance yet. He does a great job, but he actually sits behind his co-stars most of the time as they lead the action and story. Alan Ritchson is awesome and steals the movie. The same way Man from U.N.C.L.E. allowed me to appreciate Cavill on a greater level, this film made me a Ritchson fan. I'm gonna fire up Reacher as soon as I'm done recording this. Gonzalez is Bay AF, and maybe the most underrated actress working right now. This movie displays her talents better than anything else I've seen her in. She's had a great spring so far this year with this and the success of The Three Body Problem, but I still feel like we're waiting for her to break out. She sort of has this reputation that she can really only play with the boys, and she can only be in dude movies. Hobbs and Shaw led to Bloodshot, led to Godzilla vs. Kong, led to Ambulance. Dude movies. I hope this changes her trajectory a bit, because I'm a massive fan. I also think she steals the movie from Cavill, right behind Ritchson. This movie is a harmless, middle-of-the-road, historical action film. The climax wasn't too discerning, but there was some cool action. I appreciated that this was shot on location and looked real. How sad is it that I make sure to congratulate a film when it looks real in my reviews? I wish I didn't get so easily depressed by disgusting looking CGI, but hell, maybe we're turning a tide with that too. I'll throw this in the mix with Monkey Man and Civil War and say that we're having a solid spring at the movies right now. Challengers is on the horizon, and that's been one of my most anticipated for almost a year now. Can you believe that trailer dropped last June? It's an exciting time for Zendaya and Chalamet's class right now. Glenn Powell is going to have a moment this summer. Things are feeling good. Let me know if you see Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare in the comments down below. What did you think? What do you agree with me on? And what do you disagree with? I'll see you next time after I see Challengers.